But the story I want to tell you, much like Jennifer's story. Also, Jennifer, are you from North America?
I am from North America.
Where are you from?
Originally. The place where my mom lives is Connecticut.
Okay, so it's America.
Yeah, America.
Okay, never mind.
That is mean.
The kid on the beach and with that woman was in British Columbia.
Oh, perfect. There we go. Yeah, so much like Jennifer's story, my story also starts when I was younger. There was this TV show that I was obsessed with. Maybe some of you who are around my age, which is 22, might remember it. Thank you, Joseph. It was about this ancient Greek hero. And she was born a princess, but then she was forged in the fires of battle. Guys, this show, she was iconic. She was a legend. And for like a young gay boy like me, staying firmly glued to the TV, she was the moment. This show that I'm talking about is a show called Xena, the Warrior Princess. I knew there was one person. Okay, how good is Xena?
It's really good.
Her outfit.
It's amazing.
Her battle cry.
Absolutely perfect.
Lucy Lawless being an actor from New Zealand playing an American as a Greek person.
It's amazing.
Guys, I was obsessed with this show. I loved Xena. And not in the same way that other boys around me seem to like Xena. The way that I love Xena was like I wanted to be her. Like legitimately. It developed so much that even as a young kid, I said to myself, one day I have to go to Greece, I have to see it for myself. Now, I have been in Europe for about half a decade, and it was weird to me that I still hadn't gone. Now the problem is when a North American, be it American or Canadian, thank you, moves to Europe, you get like windswept by everything that Europe has to see, right? Like you want to, there's so many monuments to see, so much to experience. I was dating a pilot, I was going all over around Europe. This dream of Greece, it fell to the wayside. That wasn't until one of my friends invited me to Thessaloniki, which is in the north of Greece. We have Greek people in the audience.
Yeah.
Love your country. We went to the north of Greece, to Thessaloniki, but before that, of course, I went to Athens to do some sightseeing. Now, our resident Greek people in the audience, if you go to Athens, what's like the landmark you want to see?
I don't know. Parthenon.
Yeah, right? Right? The Parthenon.
Parthenon.
Acropolis, thank you. Get roasted on stage today. Yeah, so you go see the Acropolis, I'll call it. Not me. And this is because I am a veteran European traveler, and I have been personally victimized by moments of like when I went to the Colosseum, with all this boyhood wonder, with this idea of gladiator in my imagination, only to have that dream crushed by the swarms and swarms and swarms and swarms of tourists flooding the sites. So, when it came to seeing the Acropolis, I said no. I don't want to see it. No thank you. Not again. No way. In fact, I had this really, really smart idea. You see, while all of the other tourists would go up into the mountains to see all those old rocks, I, being smart, would just pay attention to the old rocks already in the city center. Not only would I skip the crowd, but I'd also be saving some money too. Now, I do have to inform you that my dad is Dutch, and he'd be very proud of this scheme. There's just one problem. Nobody told me that if you're going to tour around the city center of Greece, that the Parthenon, did I get it? That the Parthenon is sitting on top, looming over you at every corner. I found myself having to avoid eye contact with it. Like it was my ex at the bar, you know? And I could hear her. I could actually hear her in my thoughts. Sitting on top of that tall mountain saying to me, I know you want to. Come on, Phil. Come see me. But no, I said to that temple sitting up there, no, I don't want to see you. And you know why? Because I know a secret about you, actually. her statues aren't even the real statues. I know, scandal. Even worse, they're sitting in the British Museum for whatever reason. And the reason I know this is because my tour guide, who was free, told me about it. So I went to the temple, I said, "Miss Temple, no thank you, I'm fine." That was about the time that it started to rain. And I mean it really, really started to rain. It was like the streets became swimming pools and everyone had to rush back to their home or to their hotel. But that's about the time that I got this second idea. Maybe, with the crowds dispersing, I could go see the temple. So, after lunch, I began to make my way. And wouldn't you know that by that time, the rain had stopped, that the clouds above me had parted, and a golden beam of sunlight was falling onto the temple ground, inviting me to it. Okay, that's not true, but the rain did stop. It could have been that. And I did find, actually, as I began to go up the mountain, and it's kind of this curving path, that I began to feel this stirring in my stomach. A bit of trepidation, a bit of like an uh-oh feeling, like I had maybe eaten something at lunch, or I hadn't drank enough water. And the stirring in my stomach, it continued to build and build and build, and then I passed by the theater of Dionysus.
Yep.
Thank you. I began to pass by the theater of Dionysus, and then I found that this stirring became a trembling in my fingers. And then by the time that I got to the top of the mountain, just before the staircase, this trembling of the fingers, it began to build in my throat and in my heart. And I realized that at that point, I was fighting back tears. That's strange to me. Because I have been all over Europe. I've seen many landmarks, I've seen many monuments. Nothing had quite hit me like seeing the Acropolis for the first time. But why? Why there? Why then? And that's about the time that I began to taste it. Pizza. But not just any normal kind of pizza. No, this is a pizza from this Greek-run restaurant that me and my family used to eat at. And I remember tasting salty, cheesy mozzarella and spicy, greasy pepperoni. And I'd be looking at this picture of the Acropolis, and I would think to myself, as a young kid, just how far away it all seemed. That place, that was the land of Xena, the warrior princess. And who was I? But some little gay boy living in rural Ontario, eating pizza with his family. When I remembered how small that little boy's world used to be, that's when I gave myself permission to cry. And I found this bench that was overlooking the city of Athens, and I just let it all out. And luckily, everyone around me was too busy taking selfies to notice. And as I was crying, I remember thinking that in this hyper emotional reality of that time, that maybe on some cosmic, universal understanding of things, that it wasn't me who had waited to go to Greece, but that Greece had waited for me. No, but really, it was a refreshing feeling. Because you know what? Before I had come to that point, there had been a long, difficult period of heartbreak, pandemic, job loss, misdirection, and frustration. That I could be grateful to come to that moment and feel a moment of love again. And as that feeling of love warmed me, I began to think to myself, what if that little boy could see into the future? Maybe sitting on that bench, he would see Xena. A survivor. Not just some gay boy, but a warrior princess.